Hello and welcome back to another video. My name is Gordon Frayne and today we are doing our end of month update for the Bitcoin spot ETFs. And it's no secret that the Bitcoin spot ETFs have been propelling the price of Bitcoin upwards since their approval in January earlier this year. As always, before we jump into the content, please make sure to smash the thumbs up button on the video below if you enjoy the content. Make sure to subscribe. We're on the road to our first 1,000 subscribers. It would mean the world if you subscribed, and hit that bell notification icon so you can get updated every day, every week, and every month as we drop new updates, so you can stay up to date with all the latest movements in the rapidly evolving crypto landscape. So, as we said, it's no secret that the ETFs have been a huge driver of price action for Bitcoin over the past couple of months. We've seen prices go from the low 40,000s to new all-time highs above 70,000 since middle of January this year. And as we look to the 9 new ETFs here, breaking down all the numbers in this table, what we can see is that we are closing in on a total of 500,000 Bitcoin having been hoovered up by the 9 new ETFs in less than 60 trading days since the ETF approvals in mid-January this year. So Grayscale is, again, leader of the pack here, but the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, again, if you're not familiar with everything going on here, was in existence before the spot ETF approval of the 9 new ETFs, but they basically changed from a trust to a spot ETF and have seen huge amounts of outflows from their particular ETF because of the fact that their fees are way higher than the rest of the other 9 new ETFs. So we have seen a lot of bleeding from Grayscale. They have bled hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin over the past few weeks. Those Bitcoin have been bought up by the other new ETFs, but that bleeding should dissipate over the next few weeks because simply there will be no more Bitcoin to be bled out of Grayscale in about 6 to 8 weeks time. So we should see, again, an even bigger price squeeze as Grayscale dumpage begins to peter out over the coming weeks. But BlackRock are the leader of the 9 new ETFs with over 250,000 Bitcoin purchased by BlackRock on behalf of their investors since middle of January this year. Fidelity are in a close second with about 143,000 Bitcoin purchased. We've got ARK Invest and Bitwise kind of close together in the mid-table here with about 44,000 and 30,000 Bitcoin purchased respectively. And then on the lower end of things, we've got VanEck, Valkyrie, Invesco, Franklin Templeton, Wisdom Tree, and the newest addition, Hashdex, all between about 108,000 Bitcoin on the lower end of the table. So as we scroll down and look at the visualization of this, we can see, obviously, as we said, BlackRock, the leader in the space, with Fidelity in a close second, but the total as of March 28th here at the end of March is just under 500,000 Bitcoin in total accumulated by the 9 new ETFs, excluding Grayscale. So we are honing in on that 500,000 Bitcoin number. So quite astounding numbers for the amount of Bitcoin that has been accumulated over that period of time. We can see the daily ETF flows broken down in this chart since inception. We did have a bit of a weaker week last week. We saw large outflows from Grayscale in particular, which means that these numbers were on the lower end for that week of 19th to the 26th of March. And you can see that represented with the dip here in the table, but buying has picked up once again over this past few days. And we are seeing less dumpage from Grayscale. It is going to continue for the next 4 to 6 weeks, as we said, but demand from the 9 new ETFs continuing to outpace the dumpage going on from Grayscale. So this chart is still very much up and to the right in terms of total Bitcoin accumulation by the 9 new ETFs for the daily ETF flows since inception. And another thing to note that we've seen over the past month is that the total amount of Bitcoin held by the 9 new ETFs has now surpassed the total amount of Bitcoin that is being held by Grayscale. So that flippening happened over the past few weeks. Grayscale did have far more Bitcoin, but as they have continued to dump, their investors do not want to be paying that 1.5% fee when most of the other ETFs have a 0.25%, and they've even waived fees for the first 6 months on many of them. So investors continuing to reallocate from Grayscale into the other ETFs. And looking at the numbers, in total, again, this is the same data that we viewed on the table in the previous website, but what we're seeing is a total of 497,000 that has been accumulated from the 9 new ETFs. That is an astonishing number of more than 2.3% of the entire Bitcoin supply, which has been purchased by the 9 new US ETFs in less than 60 trading days. You know, we can only imagine how much this is going to be by the end of the year, but I think last time we made this video, we were saying that we could be getting close to 10% of the entire Bitcoin supply being purchased by the 9 new ETFs by the end of 2024. And, you know, we're still very much on track for that, given the fact that we're over 2.25% of the entire 21 million Bitcoin supply has already been purchased in less than 60 trading days. So again, to reiterate the sheer amount of demand that's going on here, what we see is still over 9,000 Bitcoin being purchased by the 9 new ETFs every single day. There are only just under 900 Bitcoin entering circulation every single day here based on the mining rewards that miners earn. And with the halving coming up in 3 weeks' time here in April 2024, the amount of Bitcoin that is going to be mined or minted and entering circulation each day is going to drop to below 450 Bitcoin being produced every single day. You know, this is not to mention the diminishing amounts of Bitcoin that are available on exchanges for purchase. We've seen this in other videos on the channel. You can check them out. But the diminishing supply of Bitcoin available on exchanges has been on a downward trend since 2020. And with the 9 new ETFs having demand, like this is only the 9 new ETFs, this is excluding every other buyer on the planet, they have a demand for over 9,000 Bitcoin every single day, and there's only going to be 450 Bitcoin entering circulation every single day in about 3 weeks' time. There is a big supply squeeze incoming. So lots of very interesting movements again over the past month with the 9 new Bitcoin spot ETFs in the US market. Huge amount of demand, still being pretty consistent with upwards and to the right movement when it comes to total daily inflows. And news coming out of the UK this week, London Stock Exchange will start market Bitcoin and Ether exchange traded notes from May 28th. So again, the approval of the 9 new ETFs in the US is really leading the way from a regulatory standpoint, but also from the standpoint of the US being a market leader here. We're seeing the UK follow suit now and beginning to position themselves to have similar financial products for consumers and investors to purchase exchange traded notes on the London Stock Exchange for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Again, we're expecting potentially the approval of an Ethereum ETF in May in the US as well. Potentially it could get extended or kicked down the road a little bit further, but a lot of positive sentiment here since the approval of the Bitcoin ETFs. We're seeing other institutions, other countries beginning to follow suit and preparing themselves for new financial products and a lot of cash injection into Bitcoin. So lots of interesting stuff going on with the ETFs. They are continuing to push price upwards. Huge amount of demand, huge amount of inflows still on a daily basis with the ETFs. It has not really showed signs of slowing down. Obviously, there was big dumpages with Grayscale last week, but there's only so much more dump that Grayscale can do, and there's only about 4 to 6 weeks left of that dumping, and then we'll have the halving, and then the demand will be continuing to squeeze price upward. So lots of very interesting stuff going on. As always, if you enjoy the content and the updates, make sure to subscribe below. We're on the road to our first 1,000 subscribers. It would mean the world if you smashed that subscribe button. Make sure to hit the bell notification icon and give the video a thumbs up on your way out if you enjoyed the content. And as always, we will catch you in the next one.